All right. If you guys are ready, I am ready to go.
Ready to go time.
Hold on. I gotta adjust your level a little bit. New meeting. All right. And turn this off. Too many screens open of all kinds of fun stuff.
Yes.
Oh, come on.
What I don't know is how to turn the sound off. If you hit the space bar, does that turn sound off? Testing 1, 2. No, apparently not.
What sound? The speakers?
So like a cough button.
Off button, you can hit the space bar.
Oh, I did, but it didn't seem to.
No, it doesn't work. Huh.
Does that work? Can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you.
We can still hear you.
That didn't work. Oh, I know. You got to hold it down.
There's a, oh. There's
Hello,
a mute
hello,
button.
hello. Can you hear it?
No,
No,
we can still hear you. That's not working.
All right, never mind.
There's no cough button.
Yeah, the cough button is if you take your mouse up to the upper right of your video window, you see where it says mute, unmute.
Upper right, huh?
Of your face, where your face is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. Can't hear
Yeah,
you.
that worked.
Now
Oh,
I
I
can
can-
hear you.
Good. All right.
I am ready and rolling when you are.
Yeah.
He's ready when we are, David. Go
Yep.
ahead.
We're good to go?
Yep, good to go.
Okay. Well, we got a lot of good things for tonight's show. Some big things have happened. For instance, Lori Lightfoot, who is the mayor of the city of Chicago and has sequestered everybody in their homes. We're not allowed to go out, not us, we're not living in Chicago, but no one is allowed to go out except she went out for a haircut. Now, I don't honestly care that she went out for a haircut, but did you see what she said, Gretchen, why she went out for a haircut?
Oh yeah, no, the rules don't apply to her because she is the face of Chicago. So she's more important than all you little peons out there. So yeah, the rules don't apply to her. Actually, I think she had someone either come into her home or come into her office, but that still breaks the rules. You can't get a haircut from 6 feet away. So she's breaking the rules.
Yeah, I find it interesting. It's the rules are very carefully laid out about what you can and can't do, right? And then when you look at the people who make up the rules, they kind of do whatever they want anyway. I find it interesting that the president he's not going to wear a mask, he's not going to do this, he's not going to, and I'm not being critical. He has a right to do whatever he wants to do. But it does beg the question, how much of this is in fact smoke and mirrors?
Well, I think a lot of it is. I love on my way to your house, they're right on Route 59. Somebody, I don't know if it's the city of Shorewood or who, somebody has put up a digital reader board and it says social distancing works. And I'm thinking, every time I see that, I think, how can you say that? There is no proof of that. And we're not even really sure like what we're trying to accomplish here anyway. I mean, they're talking about flattening the curve. Well, that's not working. That hasn't happened yet. So, I mean, you've got statistics there on how many new cases we have today. Now, this is Wednesday for the show on Sunday, so it's automatically out of date. But you know, we're no longer doubling every day. But that's really all we can say.
I think it's fair to say that distancing works because if I had the virus and I were, say, in Hong Kong and you're here in Chicago, I pretty much can't give it to you.
Yeah, but you know, the grocery stores are still open, Target's still open, Menards is still open. You know, I just think that, you know, I think it's a lot of falderall. I really think they're trampling on our rights, which you've got for later in the show. But I mean, it really is a constant in my face. It's a constant affront as far as I can tell, to our rights as Americans. And I, I put up the Ben Franklin quote of, if you give up a little essential liberty for security, you'll get neither, and you don't deserve it. And so, that's what I think. That's my personal opinion. I know I'm on like the extreme fringe on that. There's a lot of people who don't agree with me. I'm hoping we can get a guest next week who will agree with me.
Yes, exactly. I will say this though, they announced today that the cases in Chicago jumped by 1,529 in 24 hours and 82 new deaths. New York is worse. Now, apparently New York is plateaued, or they're coming close to plateauing according to projections. So I don't know how long it'll really last. But the last I heard, they're saying we're probably going to be shut down through June. That's the latest thing I heard, I think this morning on the radio.
Don't say that. I don't want to hear that. I'm not hearing that.
I don't know. I really don't know how that's going to go one way or the other. It's hard to say. But I do know anybody that says this is all put up, I'd have to disagree with that, because you have governors standing up from states, Louisiana and places. They've turned the Superdome into a hospital. I mean, that would be the biggest conspiracy in the history of the United States if all these governors got together and just made up stuff and somehow shield public from going and looking at it so that that they could lie about it. I think you have to take it seriously. I just don't know how seriously you have to take all the stuff they're telling you have to do.
So they sent 2 naval ships. They sent one to New York City and one to Los Angeles to deal with the non-COVID people who had medical needs, and the hospitals are at capacity and they can't deal with it. And there's just a handful of people being treated on these Navy hospital ships. So I think it is a lot of hoopla and not really anything to back it up.
Well, about the Navy hospital ship, what you said is correct, but you have to understand the reasoning. I was listening to Bloomberg, one of my favorite people, right?
And, let's listen to Bloomberg. That's a good idea. Mm-hmm.
But he was on giving an update, and the hospital, what the naval ship was, they secured. Trump sent it to him to be an actual hospital for non-virus related stuff.
That's what I just said. Yeah.
The plan was when people went to a hospital, if they didn't have the virus, they sent them to the ship. So that was going to be a normal thing. Well, Bloomberg said, you know what? Everybody's basically locked down. Crime rates have plummeted. Accidents have plummeted. We're not getting types of stuff walking into the hospital that we do on a normal day because nobody's out. So that ship is in fact empty. They're going to convert it to hospital beds and equipment to support virus, but it's not finished yet. So it is sitting empty. Just throw that in because, the facts are facts, but I don't know. There's a lot of.
I also sent. I forgot to print it, but I sent it to myself. I got an email in my county board email from a company called American Security Today, and they said that one of the main models that all the officials are looking at has actually been revised, and now they're saying somewhere in the neighborhood of like 82,000, I think is what they said, deaths are projected rather than 100,000, 200,000. It had been 1 million, then they brought it down to 1 to 200,000. Now they're revising it down to 80,000 plus. So it's further proof that I'm not saying the virus does not exist. Of course it does. Of course it's real. I'm saying it's no worse than a flu, a very bad flu bug. And it's also not worse than Obama's H1N1 situation that happened. And he basically didn't do anything.
Using non-target radio, we're talking about the pandemic at the moment. This is AM 560, The Answer. This is a recorded show, so don't call. It won't do you any good. Heaven only knows what you'll get if you call. George will probably be sitting by the phone just to be abusive to people.
Just
you know,
mess with you. Yeah.
more traditional part of our show. Um, Interesting thing, and you got to give him credit. If you haven't figured out yet, Eric is not on the show tonight. He's so deep into making these masks. It's absolutely amazing. Tom McCullough, who's running for the state senate, and Eric Allen, Eric's got it's a laser cutter, right?
It's a laser engraver.
Engraver. And so Tom McCullough started with this, and he was doing it with a printer, and it was taking, as I recollect, something like 24 minutes to make a mask. And the purpose of these masks is it goes over that soft mask that you wear, because that wears out fairly quickly just from being exposed to the atmosphere and people throwing up on you and whatever. So they came up with this kind of a plastic thing that goes over that protects it. Well, when Tom started doing it, it was taking him 24 or 25 minutes for each one on a printer, laser printer, which gave Eric the idea, why not cut it? And he went out and found some suitable material. It takes him like 20 seconds to do one. They have put out thousands. In fact, he was telling me that he's afraid the cops are going to bust his house because vehicles pull up all hours of the day and night, and he hands them something through the window and they drive away. He goes,
Yeah,
like
he said he feels like a drug dealer.
which that's pretty funny. But they have sent out free now. They're none of them are charging anything. They're not getting their money even back. They're sending them out free, thousands of them, and they do have a GoFundMe up, and they've gotten several $1,000s in that. So that's recouping for the material. But these guys are doing this not only. I think they're doing 24 hours a day now. I think they're working.
Yeah, I think they are.
They're not only doing it because they think it's the right thing to do. They're paying for it out of their pocket, which is astounding. So credit where credit is due. So Eric is working the press, I think. That's why he's not here today. But God bless them. They're going to hospitals all over the place. And now apparently they're calling in from out of state. So they got something going there. We're going to take a break. When we come back, big news item of the day, despite the haircut for Mayor Lightfoot, the next biggest item has to do with the presidential election. And we're going to talk about that when we come back with more on Target Radio. And you're listening to AM 560, The Answer.
Cool. One down.
Did it work all right?
Yep.
Okay. So Trump versus Biden. Did I give you a copy of the thing about Bloomberg is going to register 100,000 young voters?
Yes.
Okay. We should probably, why don't we hold that? We'll probably run short toward the end.
Okay. Well, I mean, I haven't read it. I have a headline, but that's it.
What?
I haven't read it. I have a headline. That's it.
Well, let's not get bogged down with details. Sanders.
It doesn't make great video for me to like have my head down, like reading something like, oh.
Basically, Sanders, I think he called it because he counted noses on delegates.
Yeah, but he said he's still going to keep collecting delegates. So I'm wondering what his strategy is there.
I bet he wants a vice president.
I don't think that's it. I think he's going to use, I think he wants to know for like the future. I think he wants to know like, okay, ultimately, how many delegates am I able to collect? So if I decide to run again in 4 years, how much short was I?
I don't know.
He says what he said in his video, I didn't see the whole thing, but I saw a part of it. And he said he wanted to continue to collect the delegates because he wants to be able to influence the platform at the convention, which, okay, I'll give you that. Makes sense.
Well, yeah, but I think I'll say that I think it's because he wants vice president, or he wants some sway anyway.
Yeah.
He's going to sell them.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, I'm good. Are you, are we ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
And we say that
Bullshit
every
my way
show.
through another segment.
Ready when you are.
Okay, ready to go? And we're back with more On Target Radio. So actually the big headline, aside from Lightfoot getting the haircut, the big headline is Bernie Sanders threw in the towel. And I can't say that that bothers me a whole lot. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I think it's interesting. He came out of a staff meeting this morning and he said, quote, "The campaign ends, struggle continues." You know, at some point the struggle is not going to continue. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, Che Guevara, you're.
I do not see him on T-shirts like Che Guevara, but you never know.
Well, yeah, a lot of people probably already have the T-shirt.
Oh, I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does. The interesting thing about him, of course, is he likes to you know who he reminds me of is Moore. Remember, Mr. Everyday, Everyman, and fighting the big, big system and all that stuff. Moore, big.
Oh, guy. Michael Moore.
Yeah.
The documentarian.
Himself as, an everyday guy who wears a, baseball cap. He's a multimillionaire. Give me a break. These guys, they're so disingenuous. It's unbelievable. And that's what this guy does. Sanders likes to portray he's this poor guy and he drives a little electric car and so on. The guy's wealthy. These people, they just look right into the camera and lie,
Yeah.
He's blaming his loss on the virus. He's saying that the reason that he couldn't get traction is because he couldn't get any time to go out. So I don't know. That may be it. Do you have any thoughts on it?
Well, I do think that the pandemic has messed up a lot of the primary elections. Wisconsin had a big battle today, I think, that they wanted the governor wanted to postpone the election and the court said, no, you can't, you have to have it. And so they had huge lines outside the polling places. Probably they were limiting the people inside the polling places. So it resulted in huge lines outside. So yeah, it's definitely thrown the elections into, I don't want to say turmoil, but a little bit of chaos. Our turnout here in Will County was 25%, according to Lawrence Daily Ferry. And so it was a little higher. She was afraid it was going to be like 17%. So I think we were short of, I think we typically go around like 35% for presidential primary. So we were a little short of what we normally would have. But, it wasn't the most abysmal turnout you could possibly imagine. And I do think, I heard, what I heard on the news was it's limited his ability to have these big rallies. That was Bernie Sanders' big selling point was, I've got a huge arena full of very excited people, and you take away the huge arenas full of very excited people and, you don't have much left. So, but I think that Sanders supporters they're very faithful. They're very fervent. And, I've heard a lot of them say, I shouldn't say a lot, but I've seen some conjecture on social media that if he is not the nominee, they will not vote for whoever the nominee is. They're only Bernie Sanders people. They're not going to cross over and vote for whoever the Democrat is. And that some of them may even cross over and vote for Trump. So, it's Bernie Sanders or nothing, basically.
Yeah, there's that famous quote from the journal from what's his name? I can't think of it, but I can't think of it. But Chris Matthews.
Oh,
said
yeah.
About a week ago, as I recall, he goes.
That was a couple of weeks ago. It was right before he lost his job.
Well, it's right. Yeah, that's right. It is. He said, if you're not a Bernie Sanders fan, if you're not locked into Bernie Sanders, the Democratic Party would be better off with 4 more years of Trump than Bernie Sanders. And I think that's a pretty insightful look, because Sanders was, he's leading you down the rabbit hole. I mean, he really is. What I want to hear is Elizabeth Warren's reaction. Now, Elizabeth Warren ran on, I have Native American blood, which you see how that turned
No,
out.
that really wasn't. I mean, that's Trump makes her out to be like, leaning on that, but she really wasn't.
Apparently, when the Asian guy dropped out, she said, "I'm the only remaining Asian in the race." And now I want to see if she's going to go, "I'm the only remaining old white socialist running." I don't know. This has been an interesting, the Democratic primary was a very, very interesting, chaotic thing. I mean, remember how they all jumped on, they were trying to outdo each other, and we're going to take your guns away. Until, what's his name, literally said, from Texas.
Beto.
Yeah, literally said, "Heck yeah, we're coming after your guns." And then finally they admitted. All you ever heard is, "No, we don't want to do that. We want common sense, this or that." Finally, somebody at least had the cojones to say, "Yeah, we are. We're coming after him." And he lasted about 24 hours, and he was out of the race.
Yeah.
So now we're down to Biden. I do not see, and it's presumptive because the electoral college. I mean, it could be anybody. You don't know what they're going to pick. Not the electoral college. You don't know if they're going to pick it.
The delegates, yeah.
So, but who else is it going to be? Realistically.
Well, I've been hearing more than one, or seeing on social media more than one person saying Biden is really just a placeholder, and they are going to do a switch either at the convention, either right before the convention, after the convention. That they're going to put him in there, but then they're going to switch out with somebody else. I think the current thing they're talking about is Andrew Cuomo, which.
Yeah, please.
I don't think, I don't care. I don't care if you switch out with Andrew Cuomo. I still don't think he has a snowball's chance in hell of beating Trump.
No, unless he does what his father did, and he rides on a tank with a silly helmet on. You're probably not old enough to remember that.
Don't get the reference, no.
Well,
I don't.
There you go. Yeah.
If you're not watching the video, you just missed me with like a completely blank look on my face.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It was his father, and his father just was real dumb. But anyway, yeah, Cuomo, I don't think there's anything really positive. And I don't mean that from a Republican standpoint. I don't know that he's really done anything that would spark enthusiasm.
Not that I know of. He's on TV a lot because of COVID-19, but I don't know how popular he is, but outside of New York State, I don't think, does anybody even know who he is other than people like us who watch the news all the time?
And realistically, and I probably get a little like gag thing there in the back of my throat. Biden's got name recognition. He's been the vice president. To a rather sick, twisted, perverted way, he has some level of charisma when he's not fondling children and women and telling them
when he's not being sexually inappropriate. Yeah.
Right. That horrible story about when children like to rub my legs in swimming pools. I mean, I don't even know. Does he not have people around him just going, cut? Let's retake that shot. I don't think. And boy, this is knock on wood for sure.
Oh, and don't forget the argument that he got into with the guy building the auto plant, saying, we want to take your AR-14. He just, you're right. I mean, he can't stay on script. They can't control him. I've actually seen a couple of television interviews recently where he was, apparently in his office straight to camera like we are now, doing a webcam type interview with a news personality. And he did really well. Now, I don't know how he's able to do so much better in that environment, but I've seen at least 2 really good interviews that he's done. I'm like, is that the same guy? Like, I don't know. It's kind of freaking me out.
Well, every time I watch him, it reminds me of Michael Jackson. I just feel like I need to take a shower when he's done. He says stuff that doesn't when he goes home at night, when he goes back up to the, doesn't his wife look at him and go, no, no, you got to shut up.
That's been my question for a while, is why is Jill letting him do this? Because it's bad.
Literally. All right, we're going to take another break and we'll be back with more on Target Radio. And when we return, we got more hot stuff to talk about. This is AM 560, The Answer. Well, we snuck that one in.
That was a good 10 and a half minutes of just straight bullshit. That was awesome. That was some masterful bullshitting.
This is interesting. This is one that you wanted to talk about.
Yes.
So you want to open it? You want to bring it back?
Sure, I can do that.
Okay.
Ready when you guys are.
Oh, I'm
Anytime.
trying to figure out where this is from. I think this is NBC. Yeah, NBC. Okay. Okay, I'm ready when you are.
I'm all set. You can go ahead.
Good.
And we're back with more on Target Radio. So ever since, especially Governor Pritzker, ever since Pritzker, first he shut down the bars and the restaurants. Well, they were saying social distancing, and then it was bars and restaurants, and then it was, just everything non-essential. And it was just sort of like a rolling blackout quarantine type situation. Ever since that happened, I've been wondering, where do they get off doing this in light of the Constitution? I mean, just straight up Constitution. And really the best example of how this tramples on our rights, which I think it tramples on our rights in a lot of ways, but the clearest, easiest example is saying the churches can't meet. Saying that we can't have Sunday services as we normally would, or even in a modified format, because of public health, and the First Amendment is very clear about we have the right to freely practice whatever religion we want, and we have the right to assemble peacefully. That describes a church service, and I don't understand really how they can get away with this. So I thought I heard on the news this morning, there was one state that was saying, we can't, because of the First Amendment, we literally cannot shut down the churches. And it might have been Florida. I think it might have been Florida, the Florida governor who said that, because their governor is saying that their stay-at-home order stops short of shutting down the churches. And so it's DeSantis. Ron DeSantis is the governor of Florida, and it does not bar churches from holding services. So there are some pastors in Florida who have continued to have meetings. The most notable one, he got arrested, but then they didn't have church on Palm Sunday, which was last Sunday. They haven't said whether they're going to have Easter Sunday or not service in the church. So, but yeah, I think it's sketchy. I mean, I think there should be, if there aren't any legal challenges yet, I think there should be.
Well, this is sort of a difficult subject because the governor of a given state and the president of the United States has an obligation, lawfully an obligation to protect the people. That's one of their main things. Each state has its own national guard that they can send out in support of any problem that's hurricanes, disasters, whatever's going on. So I don't know exactly where the line is drawn, because realistically, if you have flooding in an area and you're concerned about looting, okay, which always happens, you can say this area is off. You can't go in this area, period. Even if people live in there, you can just say it's off. You can't go in that area. I'm just hypothetically making this up, but they have the right to do that, to maintain law and order. I don't know where that line is drawn. If they believe that this is transmitted from one person to another because of proximity, then what do you do to stop? If you just let everybody crowd into Union Station, you're going to have the entire population of your state sick. I mean, so where do you draw the line? And if you
Oh,
say,
that's the other thing. They haven't shut down public transportation. So I question how serious they
Well, I
really
agree.
are about protecting people.
issue too. I think that's an issue. That's why I say this whole thing is smoke and mirrors. There's no
Exactly.
like definitive, we know for a fact this is A, and as a result, you can't do B. The federal government says one thing. The mayor of some cities say a different thing. Look classically, and this just blows me away. The governor of the state of Illinois, who neither side of the aisle would suggest was gun friendly, right? I mean, neither the Democrats or Republicans would say that, specifically exempted gun stores and ammunition sales from having to close, claiming that they were essential. That came from him is mind-boggling. But then you look at Champaign, and the mayor of Champaign goes, close them down. Well, first of all, she's in violation of what the governor said. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's all smoke and mirrors. People are doing whatever they feel like. I don't know how
So Governor DeSantis of Florida said, I don't know that governments would have the authority, quite frankly, to close a religious institution. The Constitution doesn't get suspended here. And the pastor who's gotten arrested in Florida, he blasted the sheriff of his county because the county had a more stricter stay-at-home order. And he blasted him for caving to outside pressure. He said it will be on his record that he shut down a body of Christ, shut down a food ministry that feeds up to 1,000 families every week. So there are people at least speaking out. Now, I don't know about lawsuits, but at least speaking out against it. This woman, Maggie Siddiqui, heads the Faith and Progressive Policy Initiative at the Center for American Progress. That's got liberal written all over it. She said, these are unprecedented times. It is hard to imagine a religious freedom claim that would hold up in court in the face of the compelling government interest in protecting our public health in the midst of a pandemic. So she sounds like you.
Okay, we're going to be back with more On Target Radio after these messages, and you're listening to AM 560, The Answer. You not see a clock, Gretchen?
No, I was reading. No, I didn't.
I tried breaking in.
It's all good. No problem.
He can fix it. He'll fix it in post-production. It's fine.
All right. Well, I wanted to promo the next segment, but okay. So we're going to do.
I'm not even done with this. So.
Well, if you want to bring it back and finish, you can do that.
I haven't read this shit about the State Department anyway, so you're going to have to carry that because I got nothing.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, if you got more to say, that's okay. But I'm ready when you are then.
Okay. Hold on, let me find what I want to read. I guess that was pretty much all I had on that one.
Nothing else?
Yeah, I guess that was pretty much it.
Okay. All right. So then we're ready to come back in, and whenever you're ready, I'm ready. And we're back on Target Radio. State Department, it's like 50%. Interesting thing. Hillary Clinton, we're going to get to her in the State Department in a second. But before we do that, the State Department is trying to reach out to India. And what they're trying to do is explore the commonalities and the differences between India and the United States through influential music. Right? You with me so far on this? So influential music. They have chosen hip hop. And they have chosen songs that are all about the abuse of women and violence and all of that. And that's what our goodwill gesture is to the country of India. to help make friends and see what we have in common. So we're looking to see if India like kills people as fast as we do and, you know, beats up their wives and stuff like that. They're spending, now admittedly, this is not a multi-million-dollar thing. They're spending $70,000 on this program to see what commonalities we have. You know, call me Aquarian, but I would think the commonalities I'd be looking for are what do we both do in common that are good things, not, you know, like shooting people and that. I don't even know who's running the State Department. I'm so lost in this stuff. People keep changing like they change, you know, underwear. But
It's
yeah,
Barr. It's William Barr.
is that who it is now? Bill Barr?
Yeah, I think it's Bill Barr.
Okay. I don't know what they're thinking, but hip hop that they're sending over there and they're using to do this is violent stuff. And isn't that really what we're trying to avoid these days? That's like a major source of trouble in this country.
Yeah, the headline is promotes violence, misogyny, and drugs. Yeah, I think we have enough of that.
Let's see what we have in common. You beat your wife? No? Okay, well, let me play the song for you. And, you know, here's the thing, and I've said this about the video games. When you talk to people in LA who produce all this stuff, and you say, maybe selling video games to 14-year-olds where you get points for killing cops is not the best choice. And they go, well, that's a First Amendment violation, and besides which, there's nothing to show that there's no evidence that shows that. Yeah, there is. People don't spend, corporations don't spend billions of dollars in advertising money. If hearing a message over and over again does not produce results, how is that different than those violent games or these songs like, you know, rap? We know, I don't know what the current age is, it's gone up some. The age of maturation for your brain and your emotions now is in the 20s, they figured out. Have you heard this?
Well, I mean, we know that young men mature later than young women.
Right.
So yeah, I think for boys it's like 23 or something like that.
In the early 20s, it used to be, they thought it was
Yeah.
younger, but it's not, it's somewhere in the early 20s. So they'll go, well, there's really, you know, this is what you always hear. Some 40-year-old guy, well, I play the game all the time, I don't shoot cops, because you have passed the point where you understand it's a game. But you look at 14-year-old kid, you're basically, it's advertising, you're indoctrinating him to play the game. Anyway, if they would use this,
Especially young people who have mental health issues, that
right.
it's gonna, you know, their brains are still developing, and you're influencing a still developing brain that already has issues. So, you know, they already have problems dealing with reality. So then you inject this, which is, you know, an altered reality, which is not, you know, not real, and they have difficulty separating real from not real.
It is, it's just like racking up points as far as they're concerned. I don't know. The other side, however, the 50% on the good side, so the State Department is like, you know, batting 50-50. Hillary Clinton, you know, they want to depose Hillary Clinton on the email thing and on Benghazi, and of course they're fighting it tooth and nail. Now she was Secretary of State at the time, and the State Department is saying, no, we're not going to back you on that one. You're on your own. So they're letting her hang out to dry. It'll be interesting to see what happens if Hillary Clinton actually has to sit in the hot seat under oath and testify about the emails. There were something like, weren't there something like 300,000 of them? If I recollect.
Yeah, I think it was somewhere in that neighborhood.
It's a lot. And she said that famous quote, did you wipe the server? And she says, what, with a cloth? I mean, come on. If she really meant that, she shouldn't have been Secretary of State anyway. So I'm glad to see that the State Department is not backing her on this thing. They're leaving her out, hang out to dry, which I think probably you could say it's under Trump administration. That's hardly a surprise. But it's also true that agencies tend to circle the wagons, and you know what I'm saying, and defend them, their people, no matter what. So I would
Well,
love to.
I think that Jeff Sessions, fired a lot of people from the State Department. I think that, or no, he was Justice, I'm sorry. But I think that they have tried to clean out a lot of those holdovers, but there's always some.
Yep. We're gonna have to take another break. Interesting thing has been circulating, and I don't particularly agree with it, but people are saying it's going to take a great act of courage to get the economy rolling again. We're going to talk about that when we return, because I don't think it's going to take an act of courage to get it started. I think you're going to have to get out of the way or you're going to get run over. But in any event, we'll talk about that when we return. Will it take an act of courage to get the economy started again? And we'll be back with more On Target Radio. And you're listening to AM 560, The Answer. And now we go into the last one, eh?
Yeah, so who's saying it's going to take an act of courage to, I haven't heard this. This is news to me.
Yeah, it was, where did I read that? Oh, I can't remember. It was a headline. I don't remember where I saw it. But there are a group of people in this country that literally because the economy is suffering right now, they're going, oh, wow, how are we going to recover? Now, I mentioned to you earlier today that they're talking about the American Restaurant Association, whatever they call them. So it's talking about 30% loss. So there's some validity to it, but I think it'll roar. I think when the chance comes, it'll roar. So that'll be it. You don't have anything for, no, okay.
We don't know when we're going to have any events again.
Good point. Well, I'm having one Saturday. All right, so I'm ready whenever you are.
Ready?
Ready, Eric?
I'm ready.
Okay. And we're back with On Target Radio. So I read, I think last night, and I can't remember the name of the organization, the American Restaurant Association, whatever it is, but the alphabet group that covers restaurateurs. They're saying that they're expecting at least a 30% loss of restaurants across the country as a result of this thing. And it's not hard to imagine. I tried, I read that little article yesterday about please order from restaurants. They're doing takeout, and, carry out and deliveries because the cash flow is horrible. It's just horrific. And I got on the phone and I called 3 places. None of them even answered. They may already be gone. I don't know. Some of the big ones like Portillo's and those, they're doing it. But I don't know. It's clearly going to be a problem for them. I don't know how you survive it. And it's not just restaurants. There's all kinds of dry cleaners. I mean, these little mom and pop, places like that. I don't know how they're going to survive this thing. I don't know if you saw that bill that the House originally put forward on like a stimulus package, which had more pork in it than anything else. One of the things was I think it was 35 states. I think it was 35. They had funds to help defeat there's some states that require you have to show identification to vote, and they're trying to get that. That was in the stimulus package. They were trying to.
There was a whole bunch of election law type stuff they were trying to change with that, which was Nancy Pelosi's, bill, her pet issue bill. But yeah, luckily most of that stuff was stripped out. Yeah,
exactly. But the thing that has surfaced is there are some people that are saying it's going to take an act of courage to get the economy started again. You know what? I think this is going to be a high-speed freight train. Get out of the way, you're going to get run over. Because once this loosens, you're going to have people who've been sitting inside for months at this point. We're already, if we go to the end of April, which we know we're going to, that's 6 weeks, right? Well, now they're saying May. So now you're looking at 10 weeks, and there's talk about even June. So what do you think is going to happen when they say, it's okay to come out now? People who haven't been to a movie, haven't been to a restaurant, I think they'll go wild.
Yes, I agree. I was having a conversation with somebody. We were very excited to see progress. There's a Chick-fil-A being built in Joliet, and right on Route 30. And so we were talking about how we're really excited to see like the construction fencing going up, and they're apparently going to tear down what's there and put up a Chick-fil-A. And I was saying, yeah, it's a bad time to have a restaurant, but it's a great time to build a restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. If you got the capital. I think one of the biggest lessons that's going to come out of this whole thing, from a business perspective, you got to have 3-4 months of capital to sustain yourself. It could be an earthquake. I mean, it could be any, you know what I'm saying? It could be any number of things. A lot of these little restaurants have no capital to back them up.
Right.
And just drop like flies.
Yeah, I saw a woman on the national news this morning who was saying she's got like a few different bakeries somewhere. I don't remember what city or state, but she's trying to get some of that government, keep paying your employees money, and the payroll protection or whatever they're calling it, and having trouble getting the money.
So time will tell on that, but I think the economy will come back. Trump is a high profile pro-business guy, so he's not going to be doing anything stupid that would prevent that. Anyway, we're going to that's it for today, and we're going to keep doing these things until who knows when, until they open the building back up, and hopefully Eric will be back with us next time. We appreciate you listening, and we'll be back with more On Target Radio next week.
All we got.
And that's a keeper. So I'll make sure I put you on the schedule next week. I'm sorry for the miscommunication.
I didn't hear
Thank you.
I said, I'm sorry. I forgot. I made a mistake with the scheduling. So
That's not a problem.
I'll make sure I get you on the schedule.
Same time next week?
Yes. And I will add it to the schedule. So.
All